time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What is up, Oilers fans? Thank you very much for tuning in and watching and listening to another episode of The Oil Stream, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Dustin Nielsen with you. And Tom Gazzola, fresh off of LASIK surgery. You look like RoboCop, buddy. What's up?
I hear you. I just don't see you. I'm kidding, buddy.
You can't see us. Tommy,
see you.
How many fingers am I holding up right now?
3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good, buddy.
3. We'll throw the V at the end for fun. Yeah, man.
How was it?
It was awesome. It was great. I mean, I went for a coffee after my 24-hour post-surgery consultation today, and I'm sitting there at a Tim's with my dad, and I'm staring out the windows, looking at the buildings across the street and downtown, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I started smiling because I could see into them, and they're a couple hundred meters away, and I was like, I never thought I would literally see the day where I could, without corrective lenses, have this sharp of eyesight. And the crazy thing is, they're still healing, and they're already this good. Big shout out to everyone at LASIK City Center, Jesse, Dr. Riaz, Jessica, who Connor Halley actually emceed her and her husband's wedding. That whole crew was fantastic. Sylvester, amazing experience. I just, it's so cool. It really is. I'm
Has
glad
Halley
I'm
had
done with
LASIK
contact.
too?
I don't think so. I don't know. Of all of us at the station, like,
Yeah,
there's a
I don't
bunch of
know.
guys wearing glasses, but I'm so glad I did it.
Wow.
Really.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of your ability to see without the old spectacles. That's I know it for sure. If I got it done, my kids would be rattled for a bit. Like, because when I put on contacts to go to hockey, Marshall's like, "You don't look like my daddy." I'm like, "It's okay, man. It's still me. It's not." Now I kind of understand the Clark Kent Superman thing, right? You're like, Clark Kent Superman, like,
Whoa,
it's
different guy.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So,
Yeah.
wow, you picked a weird day to get eye surgery yesterday, Tommy.
Man, I'll tell you what. I'm sitting there waiting to go into surgery. It's like, I think it was like 9 in the morning. I booked one of the earlier slots, and I get a call from Hernan. And everyone knew. I'm like, boys, I'm off today. I'm out of commission. Like, I'm going in for eye surgery. And Hernan's like, hey, can you hop on the show? And I was like, dude, I'm like 5 minutes away from going in. He's like, oh, shit, I forgot. Sorry. He's like, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I look at Twitter, and then I start getting all these texts, and it's like, of course they get rid of the coaches today. Of course. There's no quiet days here. And Jeff texts Jeff Walker, and I'm like, boys, I can't do it today. I'm literally out of commission. And you know what? Shout out to everybody who responded to my Twitter. That was pretty funny. When I could finally open my eyes and read them, I was laughing pretty good.
That's wild. All right, so now you can see clearly. So we've got lots to dive into. We will get to the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day a little bit later on. As always, the Oil Stream brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, home of the delicious Popeye's chicken sandwich. Nothing says post-LASIK surgery meal like a Popeye's chicken sandwich, Tom. You can get your hands on that over 12 locations. And, of course, they have teamed up with the Oilers with the Oilers meal that they've got going on right now. It's a sandwich, it's nuggets, it's sauces, it's all your sides, it's a drink, and it comes with a Oilers puck as well. So swing by Popeyes on your way home or sometime this weekend and get that Oilers meal, get that puck for your collection. All right, let's start with Dave Tippett. Then we'll transition to Woodcroft. He was on the ice this morning, had his first media availability here this morning. We got to look at his first line combinations coming up for tonight's game as well. But Tommy, why yesterday finally for Tippett when it looked like, we kind of expected it to happen 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Finally, they decided to do it yesterday. What do you think of the timing?
I'll start with this. I thought Ken Holland was scrambling yesterday. The presser, we thought some of his press conferences before were quite interesting, and fans, didn't have a lot of confidence after listening to those ones. I was listening to that one post-surgery going, this guy is just trying to save and salvage the season. And when he said it was a gut feeling and he was racking his mind thinking about it after that loss to Chicago, I'm like, okay, so he's just going off his gut, off a hunch. And listen, the Oilers were really flat in both games. It surprised me how flat they were on Wednesday against the Blackhawks, and I think that was the final nail in the coffin, obviously. And Ken Holland's instincts are telling him that, you know what, the rest of the season, these final 38 games, that would be the type of struggle this team is going to go through. You're going to have these stretches where they'll be pretty good and rattle off 5 wins in their last 6, or 5 and 7 now, and then you're going to have these games where they come out and they're just absolute duds. So he decided to pull the trigger with quite a bit of runway left to go. And here we are. But I was listening to that presser yesterday, and I'm like, man, the motivation behind it just sounds like he's scrambling to salvage this season.
It sure seemed that way. You know, a few of the questions that were asked that were pretty legitimate. He really didn't have an answer, kind of went back to some of the, you know, the regular things that we do hear from him. So, yeah, that was an interesting one. Where did it go wrong for Dave Tippett, do you think? Like, made the playoffs the first couple of years, first round exits, not ideal. Started this year 16-5, dealt with some injuries, dealt with some COVID. Obviously missing Mike Smith, who he obviously was very loyal to. Didn't have him around for the first half of the year. Looked like they might have been getting back on track, and then a couple of duds coming out of the break, Tommy. So where did it go wrong for Tippett? What do you think?
Okay. Let's look at the big picture thing. He got this team to the postseason 2 years in a row. And to those that say that 1920 wasn't a playoff year, officially it is. The NHL calls it a postseason year when you make the bubble.
When they were in a playoff spot anyway, if they even do the joke of a play-in. So,
yeah, exactly. And then so finished twice in the division in back-to-back years. That's progress. No success in the playoffs. That's unacceptable. Okay, we get that. He's a good coach, but where I started to notice something odd, or I started to really go like, okay, what's he doing? What's his plan here? Was going into the bubble. He started to try to play mind games with Jeremy Colleton. I think with the goalies, if I recall correctly, Rashog and I were doing Oilers 3-3 or whatever it is. And we were analyzing like the lead up and training camp and all that. And it almost like he was trying to like outsmart Colleton. And what I thought he was starting to do was just outcoach himself and overthink things. And even though they had success last year in the shortened season, there were moments where you're like, I think he's overthinking this. And you're like, nah, this guy's been coaching the league for 15 years. He probably, you know, knows what he's doing. He's won the Jack Adams. And he would keep going to those same combinations, stack up McDavid, Draisaitl. It wasn't working. And then this year, he seemed to get into that rut as well, where he would go into the same patterns of going to old reliable or old faithful with doing the same things. And then it's compounded to me. And I said it a couple months ago or weeks ago, whatever. When you don't score the first goal and you're stuck chasing games like they have been for 33 or 34 of the 44 games, or 32 of the 44 games, man, that gets in your head. It hurts the team's confidence. They just expect to get scored on. And that's not a recipe for success. So he's trying to coach his way out of being behind automatically, essentially, every game. And I think he just went back to old habits. And like Ken Holland did and said yesterday, he went with his gut because he saw something there where, you know, they're going to be dealing with the same story for the rest of the season if he didn't do something. So he pulled it off. So I think it stems, Dusty, at least for me, to going into the bubble.
If you are watching on the live stream and you want to ask a question or leave a comment, just hit us up in the Say Something section. We'll try to get to a few of those. Jay Woodcroft takes over. Dave Manson comes with him, Tommy. What do you think of the decision to go to Woodcroft, at least for this point, just the rest of the season, and see what he can accomplish in this spot? I said earlier on my show today, like, we've had Woodcroft. I've got him out to the golf tournament a couple of times. Great guy. I mean, he comes across as an absolutely tremendous guy. When I've had him on my show, it's a good interview. Everybody who's been around Bakersfield seems to think he's a great coach. Your opinion on the hire and what we might expect from Jay Woodcroft, and what does he change for this group?
Everyone gets a fresh start. So Warren Fogle might have been in the doghouse. He's not anymore. And we see he's elevated to the third line with Nugent Hopkins and I think Derek Ryan. Guys who maybe were down in the dumps or were, I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but kind of afraid to make mistakes around Jim Playfair, Dave Tippett, these old coaches that have been around for a long time, maybe intimidating to some. just because of their tenure and how long and what they've done in the league. That's gone now because you've got a dozen skaters, when I counted this morning, who have a relationship, prior history, playing for Jay Woodcroft. Some in Bakersfield, some up here in Edmonton. And so there's a rapport with a clean slate. And then for those younger guys, especially, maybe gives them a bit of confidence because they were obviously playing well enough to get called up to Edmonton and graduate to the Oilers in the NHL under the tutelage of Jay Woodcroft. And now you have a guy that believes in you. And it sounds like Jay's going to use that belief system to instill in these guys. He's a communicator. I've known him since he came to Edmonton as an assistant. He's a good dude. And if that line of conversation and discussion is clear and the message is clear, that probably goes a long way. I don't think Jay's the type of coach that plays mind games or anything like that. So if everyone's on the same page and knows where they're at, that's probably going to be a benefit. Now, Dusty, he's in a tough spot.
Yes, he is.
We said it a few weeks ago. If you're bringing in Jay Woodcroft when the fan base was clamoring to get rid of Dave Tippett, Jay Woodcroft's coming into a tough spot. And it's not as tough as the spot was when they were losing 6 in a row and 7 in a row. But this is a hard position to come into right now with this team still trying to figure itself out.
He's not in a great spot at all because you're coming in here, and I know a lot of people in the media talking about accountability for this team and trying to establish some accountability, and you're going to try to do that. But at the same time, I mean, you don't want to ruffle any feathers to the point where the players get frustrated and mail it in, and all of a sudden you don't get a contract moving forward for the next few years. So not an ideal spot to be in, but it's a chance to be a head coach in the National Hockey League. And I wish him all the success in the world, and we'll see if he can get it done. And I don't know, the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, Tommy, is it about Jay Woodcroft, or because I got another one about Woodcroft we can get to if yours isn't there. Should we hit that first or what?
Yeah, we could hit that first. It is, of course, about Woodcroft.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do it then. Let's dive into your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, brought to you by our good friend Ken Morrison and his Remax Excellence team. You can give him a call, 780-993-4815. You can visit his website, kenrmorrison.com. Whether you're buying or selling, he's your guy. 20 years, more than 20 years of realty experience, and a good guy in the community with charities and things like that as well. Tommy, what do you got?
All right, the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day is this: with Jay Woodcroft coming in, expectation sky high. That's what also makes it tough for him. Will this shock to the system work? Will Jay Woodcroft have the success necessary to get this team into the postseason, maybe even make some noise? Or does he completely turn this thing around and get it going to make this team into a juggernaut? Dusty, how do you think it goes in the last 38 games? Even take a crack at the standings and the results in terms of final stats at the end of the year.
Man, this is not a cop-out for Tippett, but if he can get healthy and reliable goaltending, then yeah, I think Jay Woodcroft is more than capable of getting this team to probably third in the Pacific. Like, I still think that's certainly within their grasp. So yeah, I mean, turning it into a juggernaut and a St. Louis Blues type of second half playoff run, I don't personally see that. I wonder what this does for McDavid, Draisaitl, and these guys to, not have failed, but have let down another coach in certain aspects of the game. Like, I wonder if that helps those guys. Not that it's 100% necessary, but I wonder if that pisses them off or fires them up, or they say, you know what, let's go out and show that we are a good team, and let's go out and, play for Jay Woodcroft and try to get this guy another deal. And a lot of whether this guy's going to be back probably falls on the shoulders of how those two guys accept what he's trying to sell them, hold themselves maybe a little bit more accountable than they have, and go from there. So I personally don't think it can get any worse. I think there are a few things that he can do with special teams. I even like his line combinations today more than anything I saw from Tippett in the last little while. So, yeah, I think he gets them. I think he's capable of getting them to the playoffs. After that, I got no clue, buddy. But if Mike Smith doesn't stay healthy and you got to run with Koskinen and Skinner the rest of the way, and maybe getting Woodcroft there is a bump for Skinner, and hopefully it is, they got to get they got to get some level of solid goaltending, because I think the rest of it can kind of take care of itself.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I'm glad you brought up Skinner, because I think Jay Woodcroft gives Skinner a bit of confidence and a boost. Having that rapport, Skinner played his best hockey as a pro under Jay Woodcroft. And I really think that goes a long way. It speaks to confidence. And what's something that we've talked about that this team has lacked, especially going down in so many games, that's a confidence thing, belief system, all that stuff. It's legit. And now, again, you got this fresh opportunity. Everybody does. Fresh opportunity, clean slate. Everything has been completely wiped clean. Add to the fact that, the guys that were in Bakersfield, like this guy, will play for him, have proven that. And now they get to do it at the next level. I think that will prove positive. Do I think, Dave Tippett could have gotten it done if this team woke up at some point? Yeah, I do. But this team clearly kept waking up briefly, only to, go to sleep and play like it was when it was at its worst. And that's the scary thing. So now everyone is on edge. I've been told that they are pissed off. The big dogs are pissed off. They've read the stuff that's been written. They've heard the stuff that's been said. You saw some of that snippiness with the media today in the press conferences, and I think it stems from everything and the culmination of this whole season and that actual shock to the system that came yesterday.
That's your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. And actually, I want to kind of follow it up with another one that I wanted to get to. It kind of ties in here. Tommy, what do you think Woodcroft has to accomplish to get a 2 or 3 year deal after this year? Like, does he have to, like, if he gets them to the playoffs and they say, hey, we like this guy, is that enough? I mean, it sounds crazy to say, does he have to win a round, because they haven't been able to do that in 5 years. But what do you think he needs to accomplish so that when he sits down from Ken Holland, whenever the season ends, he can say, this is what I've done, and Ken Holland goes, okay, that's good enough. Maybe the answer is, if it doesn't work out, Ken Holland might not be choosing the next hill pitch anyway. So where do you come out on this?
I think, yes, the playoffs is the bar. He has to get to the playoffs first. And then the performance in the postseason probably dictates it. If they flop again and lose, in 5 games or something like that, then Jay Woodcroft's probably looking for his next job somewhere else. And the Oilers are probably looking for a big name coach again. But if Jay Woodcroft gets this team rolling, sees a change in the attitude on the ice, an edge actually does show up when they play, attention to detail that hasn't been there specifically in the defensive zone all season long. If that starts to emerge, those types of tendencies, and then obviously followed up by the results, then I think they look at Jay Woodcroft and say, yeah, this guy is the right guy going forward for the next few years. Let's see how it goes. Give him a contract. But Dusty, he has to make the postseason, and a few things on the ice need to change. And it's going to be tough if you don't get that save. I mean, the other night, the first 2 shots go in. The night before, the 3rd and 6th shot go in. And this is something that has plagued all 3 goalies. Some of it is the goalies, and some of it is the poor play defensively in front of them. That has to change, too.
We're going to wrap the episode with a look at the line combinations for tonight against the Islanders. We'll get to some questions here as well. All the way out from Newfoundland. Tommy, why did Connor need to talk to Speck? You weren't there today. You're post surgery, so we don't really know why. But you did say, I mean, people are pretty fired up.
I do know why. Well,
yeah.
If you read Speck's article last night,
I read it.
So did the players. That's all you need to know. Yeah. And these are the things that happen. And listen, Speck calling them out the way he did, teach their own, right? You could feel however you want to feel about it. It obviously pissed off the players, and it would probably be handled again if we were in the locker room, but COVID being COVID, you get the media doing the podium thing, and it creates this interesting messed up dynamic. This would probably be a one-on-one away from everyone. And Connor pulled him aside, and it got caught on the mic. They had a chat. It happens. It happens a lot more than people think. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I I too have had a chat
I've
with Spec.
Wow.
He doesn't even follow me on Twitter anymore, and he hasn't said sorry yet. So I'm not talking to Spec lately. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I can.
I'll say
yeah.
that aside. Yes, like
Yeah.
this has been one of the most messed up years covering the team off the ice, on the ice. It's been messed up, frustrating in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
The fan base is very fired up, and rightly so. This has been a really tough year and weird one like I've never seen. I'm sure you'd feel the same way in terms of covering this team. And on top of that, oh boy, yeah, it's just all year long. It's just been.
Well, when you combine the way things are with COVID right now, the way the season's been going, what's happened here forever, right? Like, it's the same. Here we go, another coach, all this stuff. I understand why everybody's kind of frustrated. So,
and to mop that up, like, one of the coaches I really respect and have a lot of time for is Todd McClellan, and that's a guy that has berated me many times before, not liking my questions, not on the road. Like, nobody would ask questions, and I was a team guy, and I would have to start the scrum. And they would be on edge, and I'd have to bring it up and bring up how they lost and stuff. And I remember in Washington one day, he went into the coach's room and he just MF'd me up and down while I was in the hallway. And I was like, oh man, like, all I did was get the scrum going, and they lost in overtime or a shootout. And it didn't matter because he was seeing red. And then guess what? The next day, I just went and talked to Todd one-on-one, and we're good. He says, Tom, you're good. You're doing your job. I'm good with you. And I'm like, Todd, I'm good with you too. Like, sorry, man. But you blow up. You have your moments where you blow up. And guess what? It's not generally a big deal. So unfortunately, this circumstance with COVID turns it into people seeing, Connor saying, hey, Spec, can I talk to you?
All right, let's get to these line combinations because I like them. This was at the morning skate today. McDavid between Puljujarvi and Hyman. Draisaitl with Yamo and Evander Kane. And then Nuge with Fogel and Derek Ryan on the right side, I would think, to take some draws in that situation. Yeah. And then McLeod with Benson and Shore as a penalty killer on the right side. Then Nurse, Bouchard, Legason, and CC with Barry out, obviously, and Niemelainen, big physical body there with Tyson Barrie. Tommy, what stands out to you with this group?
Big bodies on that line with Draisaitl and Kane, and then Yamamoto back with Draisaitl. We know that he likes playing, or Draisaitl likes having Yamamoto there. So going to things that work. Things that also work, Hyman with McDavid has had success. They need to get Hyman going again, obviously. And Puljujarvi getting bumped back up there as well. They need to get him going. So I like that. And then you got Nugent Hopkins centering the third line. So as Jay Woodcroft called it, building the roster with a spine with those three centermen is how he described it. Derek Ryan, he's had a bad season, hasn't done a lot.
Yeah.
And Warren Fogle, there's a guy getting a fresh start with Nugent Hopkins, which could be interesting. I think if Zach Kassian were healthy, you'd probably see him on that line. So the defense is interesting, splitting up, with Keith out. Obviously, Cece's going to have a new partner. So let's see how these young guys do because it's been tough sledding lately.
Tommy, do you think they win tonight?
I do. It's just you get that bump of adrenaline and the shock to the system and they need to beat the Islanders. Like, these last two games were just bad. So I think they do.
I think they win tonight too. I think they get it done tonight. Maybe we'll be fooled again, but I think they get it done tonight. I forgot to mention this. Oil Stream T-shirts and hoodies are now available at nielsenmedia.ca. If you want to get one, yes, I swear to God. And I'll give you some details on it, Tommy. I'll get you later. But if anybody's watching or listening to the podcast, just go to Nielsen. It's Nielson and then media.ca. And I got Oil Stream, 2 guys, and then a ton of Nielsen Show AM Nasty 6 o'clocker stuff on there. So and $5 from every item will go to charity. So if you want to go get something, go check that out. But nielsenmedia.ca is where you can find. Actually, amnasty.ca. I'll take it to the same place, and just click on store, and there you go. You can check it out. I had a bunch of people. Somebody ordered an AM Nasty iPhone case this morning. So
nice.
It's interesting. What time do you get going tonight, Tommy?
We get going at 6. I'll tell you what, the Don Wheaton GM on White pre and post game show doesn't have merch, so we've taken a step here. I'm very impressed. That is awesome.
Well, there'll be more coming too. I started with just shirts and hoodies for now, but you'll be helping in charity a little bit and get yourself some of that Oil Stream swag. If you've been watching the live stream, subscribe to the podcast, obviously, as well. Search the Oil Stream on all your podcasting platforms. We got a whole new coach to talk about, new games to break down. Nielsen and cool dude Tommy Gazzola right here on the Oil Stream. Tommy, have a good show pre and post tonight, buddy, and we'll catch up next week.
All right, Dusty. Great to be back.